welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We're going to be talking about Extreme Rules 2022 from October the 8th, 2022. Alright, so let's get right into the reveal because it was not attached to anything on the show. So, after the fight pit, we got Bray Wyatt singing, he got the whole world in his hands. Philadelphia is 100% ready for this. They had actually been chanting for him for about 20 minutes. And to be quite honest, it kind of distracted from the main event. If we being real, all the anticipation for the Bray Wyatt stuff distracted from the main event. But we started getting a lot of these visuals, cool visuals. We got the pan shot where you see the whole crowd with the fireflies and the lighting and everything. And then it would zoom in to a member of the Firefly Funhouse in real life. So it's like Huskus the Pig Boy. And then they play around a little bit. And they fly over to the Buzzard, Mercy the Buzzard. Then the Bunny. Then the Witch. And then there was a severed head on the announce desk. And Michael Cole and Corey Graves had to sell the severed head on the table. And then we get, a door. And we pan over to the Firefly Funhouse, which is abandoned. There's cobwebs over everything. It's lifeless. It's dead. And of course, that is, giving us the symbolism of what's happening and what's going on here. Then the Fiend is in the crowd. So there's somebody in a Fiend mask in the crowd. They're wearing a hoodie. And the crowd is, ah. So we get some screens, guy in a mask asking who killed the world. And it says, you did. Then there's another door. And from that door, we get, the light around the door, which is beautifully shot, high production value. The lantern comes through. Wyatt comes through in a different mask. He removes the mask. And now he's home. It was fantastic. A wonderful cherry on top of this show. The production of this thing, top quality. Everybody was waiting for it. So it felt good. It felt good to build some anticipation. Triple H has been doing these, surprise re-signings. As a matter of fact, I think every re-signing he's done has been a surprise so far. Karrion Kross, Dakota Kai, the Garganos, Braun Strowman, all of them have mostly been surprised, except for Braun Strowman. I think it was spoiled. Maybe the weekend of it was going to happen. So Bray Wyatt being teased was important. And I think that it says a lot that you wouldn't have him pop up as a surprise, that you would try to draw an audience out of it, with somebody like him. It tells people that he's a big star and people care about him, You start doing these little vignettes, you start doing these little games and everything, and people are really attached to it because now it's attached to a big star. If it was attached to a nobody or somebody who, you don't know what's going to happen, then you get a gobbledygooker situation where you got an egg sitting on a platform somewhere for 2 hours and people are like, I wonder what that is. And then whatever comes out of that egg is not any more over than before because you wouldn't, we don't know what it is. It's just kind of a thing. But Bray Wyatt, with his history with the WWE fan base and with people who really wanted him back anyway, this was glorious. This was tremendous. This is WWE utilizing their resources to the best of their abilities. This is great. He apparently has a new logo. He still has his lantern. From looking at things from a symbolism standpoint, it looks like the Firefly Funhouse and the Fiend is over, and that we're going back to Lantern Bray Wyatt. Okay, fine. I can see why they want to move away from the Fiend. Moving away from the Fiend, moved away from a lot of the higher level supernatural stuff that got in the way before. So sort of stripping all that away is interesting. Revamping it a little bit, giving it a rest. I'm pretty sure the Fiend will come back one day. But giving it a break, moving away from it from a little while to do more regular, I don't want to say regular everyday Bray Wyatt stuff because this stuff is really good. to move away from that and to move towards, something that can actually work, something that can actually take bumps, can sell, yada, 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 is good. It's the right decision, And I like how they showed the Firefly Funhouse abandoned, full of cobwebs and dusty and everything. Because, without the Fiend, it's kind of lifeless. And we know from the Firefly Funhouse that it was their safe place where it was a safe place within Bray Wyatt's mind that he led us into. And now he left that place. He's not in that safe place anymore. He's back out into the world. So we could see that, from symbolism, it makes sense. Now, my question, of course, is we now have, I guess, real life versions of the Firefly Funhouse gang. Are they going to have wrestlers be involved with Huskus, the Buzzard, the Bunny, and the Witch? Are there going to be wrestlers that are going to be involved in that? I can guess that there might be, but I don't know for sure, of course. But I wouldn't be surprised if there is. It was very cool though, getting the Firefly Funhouse gang out into the real world and them just standing around in the crowd was very cool. Everything about it rocked. Now, a lot of people, I've seen a lot of build up. Seth Rollins, of course, criticized that the Fiend has been a very difficult character to work with, but now I guess you don't have to work with the Fiend anymore. So that's good. You don't have to deal with that anymore. But at the same time, there's a lot of people who are work rate marks. They want to gauge how well you do arm drags. They're concerned about the match quality, and I'm not. I absolutely don't care about the match quality because this kind of stuff is gripping. And if you watch this show, there was a lot of great fighting on this show. There's even some great wrestling on this show. What got the biggest reaction? This shit. All right. This shit got a bigger reaction than any match Danielson has ever had. And I love me some Bryan Danielson. Philadelphia wanted nothing but everything that they brought here. They didn't give a fuck about one headlock, one head scissor. Nobody gave a damn if he was going to have a match ever again. They just wanted him out there for this right now. They just wanted to see him. And they saw him for literally 40 seconds. And everybody's like, oh my God, that shit was awesome. He didn't even do anything. So it tells you that he had a lot of goodwill with the audience. And, it was the office that kind of screwed everything up. So maybe Triple H will fix what the problem was with Bray Wyatt before. But Bray Wyatt is a very successful character. Has always been a successful character. He's going to sell a ton of merchandise. You just have to handle the character differently. Vince apparently just didn't want another Undertaker or anything like it. So he didn't really treat Bray Wyatt like a special case like he should be. And he's the kind of guy who is, when he's drawing money and doing all this kind of stuff, you have to treat him differently. You can't make him the champion all the time, the same way you couldn't make Undertaker the champion all the time, because Wyatt has to win more than he loses. But they did, and it didn't really, it came in at a bad time, if we're being honest. Wyatt is one of those guys who, he came in during the Roman era, and they needed to get Roman over. Wyatt can talk. So I think it was 2 years maybe, where Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns were like attached at the hip. And if you look at the house show loop and pay-per-views, it was just constantly Roman Reigns beating Bray Wyatt to death because they needed to get Roman Reigns over. And that's the guy who was going to be the babyface. So now that Roman is the heel, we don't need to do that anymore. So I'm guessing Wyatt's going to be the babyface. We'll see how long that lasts. I don't expect him to wrestle for the title or anything like that anytime soon. I expect him to find a target, and him and that target are going to work a feud. And it's probably going to be a long, stretched out thing where he doesn't require being a champion, and he only wrestles a couple of times a year. Maybe even a Brock Lesnar-like schedule. That's what I would do with The Fiend or with Bray Wyatt. He would work a Brock schedule, no house shows, nothing like that. Purely big four events, You know, he will replace Brock or Undertaker as that special attraction. That's what I would do, because people don't really care about matches. They do care about moments. They do care about feuds. They do care about promos and stuff like that. And that's the kind of shit that Bray Wyatt can get into and make that stuff interesting on a weekly basis. If he out there working every single week, working house shows and all that kind of stuff, it's going to burn out. It's not going to work. His mystique is going to die out just like it did the previous time. You have to turn him into a special attraction. And I do think, even if you don't think that Bray Wyatt is that level of performer, I think it is time to do that with him. Because you have to create more special attractions. And if you're not going to do it with Bray, who else you got? All right. So you got Roman as a special attraction already. He doesn't really work house shows. And he doesn't work regular TV all the time. So Bray Wyatt needs to be the exact same. He needs to not work house shows, limited schedule. That way he can stay in shape, because he's always going to have that weight problem. Stay in shape, stay mentally tight. He has time to work on anything that he wants to do in terms of his character stuff, his vignettes, all the creative storyline based symbolism stuff that he wants to do. He'll have perfect amount of time to do that. And his opponent does not have to work with him and lose every single damn week, or get embarrassed or touched or beat up every week. It could all be psychological horror and a lot of fun stuff like that. That's how I would utilize Bray Wyatt, because I think that's the best usage of him. I think if you put him out there every single week, you're going to burn everybody out. Now, I saw somebody on Twitter espousing some concern for Cody, saying, yeah, now that Bray's back, what about Cody? It's like, I don't think anything changes. All these people coming back, nothing changes for Cody. Cody is going to be the guy, all right? Because Roman's not going to be there forever. Roman's eventually going to move on to being that special attraction who's going to show up every once in a while, Rumbles, Mania, Saudi, stuff like that. He probably won't be on SmackDown every week. But at that point in time, they'll have other players. That's the point of a special attraction. Special attraction doesn't need to be there all the time. And I think WWE having more is a good thing. And then them being younger is a good thing too, because Brock is getting up there in age. And I know Brock isn't that much older than Roman and Bray. I think he's like 6 years older than they are, maybe. I think 8 at the most. He's in mid 40s. Roman is in his late 30s. Roman's like 38, 39. Wyatt is around that same age. They don't need to go out there and do bumps. We got tons of people in NXT that are in their mid-20s. They can go do all that shit. Let some of these older guys who are already over take, do the special attraction stuff. And that's what I would do, personally. I think that's how you get the most out of these characters now. I think you have your every week, your grinders, your offensive linemen, your defensive tackles, those are the people you have, and you have your special teams, and that would be my Wyatts and my Roman, the guys who ever show up every once in a while. They have one specific job: to draw the Mania crowd, to draw the Rumble crowd, to draw the Saudis, whatever. And then we get the hell out of there. We don't try to give them belts. Maybe if we have to get somebody over, they'll do a job to a younger guy. But for the most part, you get in, you work with somebody to get the rub, they get over, they get out of there, and that's it. That's how I would do it, personally. All right, so now let's talk about the rest of the show, which was an up and down show. I think it was mostly up, but there were some things about it that were kind of off. But it certainly started out with a goddamn bang. The Brawling Brutes defeated Imperium in the Donnybrook match. Just incredible. The crowd was 100% into this. And they're chanting, "You tapped out" at at Gunther, which was great. The build-up to the Gunther-Sheamus collision in the ring, the crowd was standing up for that. They were ready for it. I love the spot where Gunther got put in the cloverleaf again, because now the crowd is like, yeah, now you can't cheat. Now we're watching you. But of course, Sheamus got hit in the back with a shillelagh. It was a pretty stiff match. I mean, these guys just love beating upon each other. And the finish came with Sheamus hitting the brogue kick to Giovanni Vinci. So, like I said, the Brawling Brutes win. Good. This is no doubt going to be a catapult to Sheamus wanting a rematch against Gunther, saying that he, not only did they win this match, but Sheamus specifically won this match. And, of course, he's going to say that he was robbed for the Intercontinental Championship. So this feud is not over. Do they make it to Saudi Arabia? Well, that's another 4 weeks. But I do think that this feud is not over. Throughout the night, we'll talk about the Miz later. Forget it. Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey. And what was without a doubt, worst match of the evening. Worst match of the night. Incredibly messy. Botchy. Liv Morgan was being entirely too nice with that chair. I mean, she rivaled Hulk Hogan or Lance Storm with that tap with the chair. She was just tapping Ronda with the chair, like tap, tap, tap. And everybody started just getting sick of this match because it was going on for so long. Like, you can botch a little bit and screw up somewhat, but you still gotta have, people have to feel like you're going for it. And I don't think anybody believed Liv Morgan was really going for it. When I saw them set up that chair in the corner, I was like, I wonder what they're going to do. And then the chair fell. And I was like, okay, now what are you going to do? And so they went for Liv Morgan's slingshot move, which, she's done a couple of times, but she botched it here and Ronda fell. So they had to maneuver themselves back into that position again so that Liv Morgan can launch Ronda into the ring post. It was awful. Ronda landed a nice baseball bat shot to Liv, but Liv didn't really do a great job selling the bat. I mean, Ronda didn't either, really, but I don't know what's going on. Like, these girls, like Liv Morgan's like 86 pounds. Why is she not selling getting hit with a bat is wild. It's just like some wild shit. I don't know, man. Liv Morgan hit her senton from the top of the table. Off the top rope through the table. Only got a 2 count though. And then Ronda countered into a submission hold. And then things got kind of weird because they tumbled around in the rubble of the the rubble of the table for a little while. As Ronda was going for the arm bar. She finally gets the arm bar, but Liv fights it. She kind of counters it a little bit. Ronda puts her in a triangle choke. Liv still doesn't get up. She still kind of maneuvers herself. She ends up on her belly. And Ronda still has a hold on. It looks like... I know a little bit about MMA, but I'm not so sure what that move was called. I think Shayna Baszler said it was called a bicep slicer. I think that's what it was called. But it had a little bit of a triangle in it. So it's like... Ronda's feet or her legs were wrapped around Liv's throat, so she kind of choked her out. So Liv didn't submit. It was a referee stoppage, and Liv was kind of smiling as she got choked out because she didn't give up. She didn't quit. And then even after she lost, Ronda steps on Liv, and that kind of got boos out of the crowd. And so then, as Liv wakes up, she's still kind of smiling after she lost. And, this one wasn't good. This one wasn't good. Look, I appreciate Liv Morgan. I don't think she's great, but as a babyface, she's not bad. She's not awful. They did a terrible job with her. Part of it's her fault in terms of really taking her to the next level. It seemed like they were trying to do something there, and then the switch happened. When Vince was there, then Triple H took over, and Triple H didn't seem to be a fan of Liv Morgan at all. So, and I think somebody, and maybe it was a Liv stan, they posted everything that's happened since SummerSlam or something like that. And how some of those shows, some of those SmackDowns don't even feature Liv Morgan at all. Like, she's not booked to be on the show. So it's pretty clear that Liv Morgan was probably a Vince McMahon choice. that Triple H decided to go with because Ronda Rousey was in favor of losing the title to Liv Morgan. So maybe he just decided, all right, enough's enough. This Liv Morgan experiment is not working. But I don't think that's true. I think the crowd was still there for Liv. I just think that they died in this match because Philadelphia is a very critical audience. And if you're not particularly good, they get very antsy about, especially their hardcore stuff. And if it's not good, it ain't good. And they're going to let you know about it. And this match wasn't good. And they did let them know about it. But I think the crowd was still behind Liv. They didn't turn on her. They turned on her earlier. Like in August, they had turned on her. But I think she won them back over since then. At the same time, though, I think Triple H is like, okay, now we're on to regularly scheduled programming. And we're done with this sort of Liv Morgan experiment that Vince had started. So it is what it is. I hate Liv Morgan fans. I don't hate Liv Morgan, though. The smiling was very odd and probably inappropriate, but there was probably some storyline reason why she was smiling. And I guess we'll get there eventually to explain why she was smiling, but I don't know, brother. I don't got all the answers. I can't promise you I got all the answers. Third match, strap match. Karrion Kross defeats Drew McIntyre. It wasn't a definitive victory. Scarlett interfering in the match, I appreciated it because usually in the Vince era, managers just stood around and watched. They very, very rarely got involved. Scarlett was integral in Kross winning, which is good. Kross looked big. He looked strong. But McIntyre is also big and strong. So somebody's got to play the beta role. And since Kross is the heel, he has to play the beta role. Drew McIntyre is the guy who fought Roman Reigns toe-to-toe, fought off the bloodline. You can't just steamroll the guy. You just can't. In story, it doesn't make sense for you to steamroll Drew McIntyre. But Karrion Kross needed to win. So they decided, instead of putting him over strong, they would just put him over. So they had a spot where Drew was sprayed with pepper spray. This distracted him so that Kross can land the cross hammer to the back of the head, and he pinned Drew McIntyre. Kind of flat. The finish was flat as hell. I didn't like the finish because the pepper spray was kind of it's like, why did she didn't pepper spray him earlier? But Kross didn't look bad here. He actually looked pretty good. He looked pretty menacing. Drew looked strong here, especially during his comeback. That really woke the crowd up when his comeback was coming in, which is the purpose of a babyface, is to wake the crowd up. Too many people think that the heel is supposed to be out there popping the crowd. No, the heel slows everything down. The heel calls the match, draws the heat, slows everything down, tells the story of the match. That's what the heel's job is. The heel is a director. The babyface is the ones who bring the crowd up. So when the babyface is making their comeback, that's when the crowd wakes up. But the heel usually lets the babyface know when it's time. So, yes, Kross dragging things down, making it kind of slow during his spots, that's what he's supposed to do. Okay, that's how heels work in traditional wrestling. A heel will grab a hold, slow everything down, hold you down on the mat. The crowd stomps and claps to get you back up. And then you start peppering them with punches and whipping them to the ropes and, all that kind of stuff, But this match was solid. I just didn't like the finish. I didn't like the pepper spray. To me, it's pepper spray in and of itself is fine. It felt out of place here, and it felt like it wasn't necessary here. But these two guys they threw some bombs on each other, man. And really laid in on the whip. It sounded good. Chops too. Chops really laid them in. So Kross wins, but they're clearly not done. McIntyre will definitely be back. So I was considering that Drew would lose, and he would lose in a decisive manner. But since he lost in a non-decisive manner, they're probably going to double back to this at Saudi Arabia. I wouldn't be surprised if they just didn't run this one back immediately. All right, fourth match, the ladder match, Raw Women's Championship. Bianca Belair defeats Bayley. More importantly, Bianca Belair absolutely solos Damage Control. With no help, she took out Damage Control, which is entirely too strong, considering she hadn't been able to do that up to this point. But they put Bianca over super strong here. I mean, Bianca's athleticism in this match, where she was just flipping all over the place and jumping all over the place, I was just kind of like, holy shit. And I think I said it before this match was even over, that Bianca is becoming my favorite women's wrestler ever. Like, my favorite women's wrestler is Sherry Martel. You can go back and watch some of her stuff in the 80s, especially her AWA stuff. And she's so good. And then as a manager, of course, she's really good. But Bianca's catching up with her quick. I mean, Bianca's at the point where she can't really do anything wrong. She's done great in pretty much every different type of match that she's been put in. And she shows something different every time. Bayley hit a running flying elbow off the apron. They had made a contraption, because they always make contraptions in ladder matches. That Bianca was laying on a ladder while it was stretched between the ring apron and the barricade. Bayley did a running elbow drop onto that thing and literally bounced off the ladder onto the floor. I thought she broke her arm. I was like, holy shit, what is going on here? So Bayley was about to lose when Damage Control came running out there. They beat up on Bianca Belair. The crowd was heated because they believed, okay, we're going straight into the finish, of course. It's over, right? Bianca Belair starts to fight back, and then she KODs both Io and Dakota Kai at the same time. Now, she did get some help from the ring posts, because they were dangling from the top rope, and she just kind of just pulled them onto her shoulders. But still very impressive. And after that KOD, neither one of them came back. Bayley, of course, will pull her hair while she was on the ladder, which led to Bianca whipping Bayley off the ladder with her hair. Later, Bayley grabs a chair. I mean, not a chair, but a ladder. Bianca Belair picks her up while she's holding the ladder, KOD, on top of the ladder. And Bayley rolls out of the ring, busted her lip up a little bit. Bianca goes and snatches the title. Bianca wins. Tremendous stuff. A really good match. I was glad to be wrong. I don't know what they do with Bayley now. I think they probably run it back. But Bianca is out there looking like a beast. I'm talking absolute beast. She soloed Damage Control. After like 2 months of not being able to get the best of these girls, she just decided, okay, well, we're going to tear them apart in one match at one time. And it is what it is, dog. You're not going to hear me complain. I hate Damage Control. I hate them. They suck. And the individual pieces are perfectly fine, but together, this is not a good group. It's not a good unit. So I'm still guessing that they're probably going to give Bayley that belt. It just wasn't tonight. They'll probably give it to her some other time. Maybe when she'll have to actually pin Bianca, or they'll do a big surprise and Charlotte will show up tomorrow night on Raw. And that'll be the feud going forward. I know that's probably what Charlotte wants to do. And I was asked by a subscriber, did I see Raquel Rodriguez make the comment that, there should be a women's Intercontinental Championship or women's mid-card title? The thing about that is there's never enough women's matches to justify the belts that they have now. I think that if you give the women their own show, you can give them one championship, one set of tag team titles, and a mid-card belt. But a mid-card title for the two women's brands, or it would have to be one mid-card belt for each women's brand, wouldn't it? I'm not a fan of that. I don't like that idea. What they should do, what I suggest, is they rebrand the titles. Instead of it being a show-specific belt, one of them should be the Women's World Champion, and the other one should be the Women's Universal Champion. Call it whatever you like. The WWE Women's Championship, the WWE Women's Universal Championship, or something like that. That way those things don't have to be show-specific. I don't like the idea that they're show-specific. The same thing for the tag team titles. just rebrand them. And as far as like mid-card division for women, just work on your personal feuds. Personal feuds draw more money. They make people more interested in what you're doing. The last two matches on this show, the last two matches on this show were all personal feuds. None of them had titles on the line. So, and they rocked. Personal feuds draw money. That's what you learn from Memphis. And it ain't no lie either, It's not just, bullshit so women won't get equality. It's true. Personal feuds draw more money. So don't worry too much about championships. Worry about getting over and your opponent being over and your angle being over, and you'll guarantee a spot on the card. Like, I just don't see I don't see the purpose of a mid-card title for women. That's what the tag team belts are, I guess. Now that I have done with that and we have dispensed with some of the earlier material, let's talk about The Miz. So The Miz apparently saw Triple H on SmackDown and decided he had to talk to Triple H. He just had to talk to him tonight before Dexter Lumis interrupted his birthday party. So he runs into the Philadelphia Flyers mascot, who gives him a t-shirt. It's a special Extreme Rules shirt for Philadelphia. It's one of those venue-specific t-shirts. And The Miz takes the shirt and says, "Oh, you want me to wear this over my $10,000 suit?" Kind of gives him a little bit of a cheeky laugh, then throws the shirt on the ground and steps on it. Later, The Miz is on the phone with Maurice. He still hasn't found Triple H. The mascot comes up behind him again. Miz yells at the mascot to go away. Then later still, he's outside of Triple H's office. He's finally found it. The mascot has found him again. Miz is offered the shirt one more time. Miz spazzes up and beat the hell out of the mascot. Just beats the tar out of the mascot. And then as he's, collecting himself after he assaulted that mascot, Dexter Lumis is behind him, chokes him out. Then Dexter Lumis helps the mascot to his feet. And then the mascot gets a cheap shot in on The Miz. So The Miz unsuccessfully saves his own birthday. He's unsuccessful in saving his birthday. Again, I really need to know why this is happening. This was fine. It was fine filler material, fine, for the show, just to have something running through the show so you can see what happens. But we really need something, we need something to tell us what's going on and why this is occurring. All right, so the match 5, Edge versus Finn Balor, I Quit match. This match was getting rained on Twitter for, I think, the first half. People were very upset. The Twitterati, the people who are very quick to say things suck, they were talking about how bad this match was. This match was a bad match. It didn't deserve the "it was awesome" chance. Oh, I quit matches are boring. All they do is ask people whether they quit or not, and that's all the referee does. And he's just sticking the microphone in people's faces every 2 minutes, and it was a bunch of nonsense. The point of an I Quit match is to beat your opponent to the point of them quitting. You never really know what's going to make them quit. So if there's a submission hold, which they did a lot of submission holds in this match, which I was surprised to see, especially early in the match, they did a lot of submission holds. They fought outside the ring. They fought into the crowd. Edge used his hockey stick to pull in the crossface. They were over in the production area at that point. They fought all over the building, which, I think was great. They fought into the crowd where Finn Balor put Edge into a crossface on the banisters. And with Edge's injured neck, that's a great spot, to pull up on that injured neck through that metal bar. That's a really good spot, and a spot worthy of "Are you gonna quit?" So regular submission holds didn't work. Fighting outside the ring, all that stuff didn't work. They finally make their way back to the ring. They fight a little bit more. Then Damian Priest comes out, and Michael Cole turns it up. The crowd is woke now. Everything is turned. The volume starts going up. Michael Cole absolutely made this match. He did such an awesome job here. I hate to say it, he was fantastic in this match. He called Damian Priest an idiot. He said, I knew this idiot was going to come out here. So Damian Priest runs out there, and the rest of Judgment Day follow. Edge ended up spearing Finn Balor through the middle rope and into Dominic, and Damian Priest took out all three of them. Then we got Dominic Mysterio. He's out there. Dominic is such a heat magnet. My God. But, so after all three of them get speared and knocked over, he goes into the corner. Finn Balor comes back into the ring. Edge lost track of Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley handcuffs him to the top rope. I know people are tired of handcuffs in wrestling matches. I mean, it's so overdone, and they never really effectively do what you want them to do. But it's a good storytelling device. If you need something to keep somebody in one place, handcuffs are perfect for that, right? So even though I think they are a little bit contrived, the handcuff spot, I did like it. So Edge is handcuffed. He is now being absolutely pummeled by Judgment Day. All four members of Judgment Day beating the tar out of him. They beating him with kendo sticks and everything. Edge refuses to quit. Rey Mysterio runs down to the ring to help him. Rey takes out Priest. He takes out Balor and is absolutely mauled by Dominic. Michael Cole is selling the shit out of Dominic, beating and, breaking his dad's mask up and everything. And the crowd hates Dominic. They hate Dominic. They don't dislike Dominic. They don't like him as, he's a heel. Because with that being there, there's still a modicum of respect. They don't even have that. There's sub-respect for Dominic. They hate that motherfucker. You think he collectively either fucked their wives or stole their car. They hate Dominic Mysterio. With the heat of 1,000 suns, they hate Dominic Mysterio. And it fucking rules. All right? It fucking rules that they hate that kid so much. Anyway, they beat up Rey. Rey has been absolutely mauled outside the ring by Dominic, the one person he won't fight back. And then out of nowhere, Beth Phoenix shows up. Beth Phoenix bumps Rhea after they have a little bit of square off. The crowd is really excited for that, Rhea, Beth Phoenix fight. They fight a little bit. Beth Phoenix takes her out. Beth Phoenix kicks the kendo stick. She takes out the other two members of Judgment Day. She gets the key, which she took from Rhea Ripley. She unlocks Edge. Edge starts making his big comeback on Finn Balor. It's looking like everything is going to turn up roses. Edge turns around, sees Dominic Mysterio. Now, there's people standing on top of each other at this point. Everybody wants nothing more than for Edge to rip Dominic Mysterio in half. They want that so badly. And Dominic is perfect in this role. He's trying to talk Edge down. He's trying to shake his hand. He's playing the perfect chicken shit heel. He's like, oh, no. Your family, shake my hand. And Edge is like, oh no, I'm gonna kill this fucking kid. And then suddenly Beth Phoenix gets decked from behind by Rhea Ripley. And we see that she hit Beth Phoenix in the head with brass knuckles. A rather vicious spot, if there is one. Edge is then immediately mobbed by Judgment Day to a chorus of boos. Finn Balor hits 3 coups de grace as Damian and Dominic hold him in place. But Edge still refuses to quit. He won't quit. Then Beth Phoenix goes and gets, Rhea Ripley goes and gets a chair. She threatens to concerto Beth Phoenix. And Finn Balor said, this is your last chance to save your wife. What are you going to do? Edge quits. Perfectly rational finish. Then, God damn it, Rhea Ripley bashed Beth Phoenix in the head with the chair anyway. And Edge stopped selling. He sold his wife being concertoed and was cussing at the officials and everything, all the pain and all the agony he was going through just literally 30 seconds ago. It's all over now because now it's time to Shakespeare You know, it's time to DiCaprio, as Booker T calls it. It's time to act. It's time to do some acting, some sports entertaining. So Edge is in there. He's just broken up, and he's screaming and crying, and everything is just perfect. And Finn Balor don't quit. Finn Balor don't quit. But Finn Balor do wear Hellraiser masks. Like, what the hell is up with that mask? Like, some people thought it was like he was being a gimp. I looked at it, and I'm a comic book guy. I thought about Penance. You guys might not. Nobody knows who Penance is. Penance is the kid who started the Civil War because his powers went crazy and he killed a busload of kids. And to punish himself, he started wearing this crazy suit where the spikes go inward or something like that. But he always wore like that gimp mask too. I remember from the video game. There was a video game with him in it, and he was a main character in it. I couldn't believe that. But he was fun in that game. I think his name was Speedball. I think that's his original superhero name. But that's what I was thinking of when I saw it. I thought that of a real obscure superhero. But then at first I thought Hellraiser. That was the first thing I thought. And then I thought about a real obscure superhero. So I should let you know I wasn't thinking about some guy trapped in a sex dungeon. I wasn't thinking about that. But perfectly respectable response is to think of Demolition, I guess, which you would have think would have been my first idea. It wasn't. Now I think somebody said that the mask was inspired by Kanye West. It was something Kanye West wore at a show once, I think for the Donda show where he performed in that spiked mask. But it was pretty badass. I liked it. I liked the spiked mask. It works. It works for this character and works for this gimmick. But Finn Balor winning, absolutely necessary. I knew there was going to be some bullshit in the game involving Beth Phoenix. That's exactly what it was. To say it was anticlimactic is, I think it's false. I loved it. I thought it was all great. I think this whole match ruled and was very good. But when they turned the knob up and the volume went up, it became undeniable. Most people will just say, oh, it was boring for 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever. But the last 10 minutes, yada, yada, that match ruled. Ruled from beginning to end. But that finishing stretch, very good. Awesome storytelling. And it should tell you that even if you can't do the physicality of it anymore, Edge can't jump off of anything anymore. This match is the 5th match on the show that had everybody hitting each other with weapons. They was hitting each other with sticks and chairs and shit in the first 2 matches. They were hitting people with ladders in the 3rd match, wasn't they? Or was the 4th match? But they were using all kinds of weapons already in the show. So what do you do when the main gimmick of an I Quit match is to beat your opponent with weapons until they quit? Or, to weaken a body part or something like that until they quit? You have to do something different. This is where having a good storyline going into the match can make a difference. Because what made this match stand above all the other matches was the storyline that went into it. The fact that Beth Phoenix was there. The fact that Ray tried to help. The fact Dominic was there. The fact that it wasn't mano a mano, man to man in some kind of Japanese strong style chop fest or whatever the fuck. The fact that there was crazy run-ins and all kinds of unfair shit. That's what made this match work. That's what got people on their feet. That's what got people into it. Not the physicality of it. People were not really all that interested in the submission holds because everybody knew they weren't going to quit in the submission holds. They've already been taught this. They already know this. And WWE has cultivated in their audience to not really care that much about submission holds. That's unfortunate, but that's just kind of how it is. But they do have an engaged audience that's been watching week to week, and they have been following the story. So if you give them the story that they've been following in the middle of the ring, guess what happens? Ta-da! They like it. So that's what happens. Match ruled. Fight pit main event with the right position. Now, the condition of the cage in general, they put some kind of weird doodads at the top. They look like stripes or something like that. I didn't like how the cage looked. it looked more menacing on NXT when it was darker, and it also looked like it was just a mat on NXT. It looked a lot more like the Lion's Den. Also, I think they shot it better by having a guy on top of the cage with the camera shooting into the ring rather than you just shooting through the cage. It made it seem like it's just a regular cage match at that point. It felt like just a cage match with no ropes. Seth Rollins comes out and he's trolling Philadelphia by dressing like Rob Van Dam. He even did a 5-star frog splash off the cage. This match was kind of mired by people chanting for Bray Wyatt. There was a lot of fat jokes on Daniel Cormier today. I saw a lot of people making fun of Daniel Cormier for being fat. You know, the guy's been retired for a little while. He's up there in age, I think. There are so many people who say he looks like Carl Winslow. He looks like Kenan Thompson. And it's kind of weird because my Twitter account is like half politics, half wrestling. So on one hand, I'm seeing all of these whiny shea butter black women talking about how terrible it is for people to talk bad about Lizzo for being fat. And then I'm seeing wrestling fans roast Daniel Cormier for being fat. And I'm just thinking like the duality of man, you know, the duality of man. Nobody's going to say anything about these guys making fun of Daniel Cormier. Nobody's ever going to stand up and say, you shouldn't body shame him. The AEW fan base might, but the WWE fan base is going to lean into it and it's calling more fat asses. So it's not going to matter very much. He's just going to be called fat asses more often if he keeps fucking with the WWE audience. But it was just weird to see so many people, like the views from my Twitter account, to see that was very, very weird. You know, a lot of people complaining about Lizzo, especially after Kanye West said what he said about Lizzo. It's been a lot of pro Lizzo stuff being fed to my Twitter account. So seeing all that, the fat guy stuff, especially coming from people who used to be fat themselves, and maybe they lost a little bit of weight recently, it was kind of weird. But hey, this is I'm the guy who talks about Eddie Kingston. Look, at least Daniel Cormier wasn't there to have a match. He was there to be the referee. You know, he wasn't there to have a match. So if you want to have a fat, out of shape referee, okay, cool. We did that all the time in the 80s. You know? Cormier was a little too physical with the boys as he was trying to set up lay down the law. He had them pinned against the cage, his hand on their throat and stuff like that. Like, wait a minute, you're a little too physical with the boys, you know? And it didn't really play into anything later either. It's just he had to show that he's a no-nonsense, playing straight down the middle referee. I was like, okay. We could have done without it, but okay. The match itself was okay to good. I don't think it was great, though. I don't think this match reached to the level of great, but I think it was really good. Seth Rollins climbed to the top of the platform. They fought up there a little bit. He threatened to throw Riddle off of it, but Riddle countered it and swung like Jack Sparrow on the goddamn cable and whiffed to the other side. It ended up being a buckle bomb into the cage on the top of it. There's a pedigree up there, an RKO up there. There's a lot of stuff going on. Ultimately, the big spots were the senton from the top of the structure onto Seth Rollins, which seemed to hurt both Seth Rollins and Riddle. Like, it was a spot that after that, things kind of went, okie dokie, we need to go home. You know, like something bad happened, we need to go home. So they very quickly and very suddenly went into the finishing spots, which was a triangle choke. Seth Rollins could not escape. He ended up picking up Matt Riddle, running him into the cage on 2 separate occasions, only to ultimately tap out in the end. So the finish was anticlimactic, but I think it was a rushed finish personally. Without knowing the facts, I'm just going to say it was a rushed finish, but I can only judge it based off of what actually occurred. And seeing what actually occurred, the finish was too abrupt. And if you blink, you missed it. They didn't really tell the story getting there. So it felt like there might have been more they wanted to give us. Maybe not much more, but there's still some more there that they never got to because of that senton. And it was kind of stiff. But Overall, I think the match was pretty good, and I think Riddle winning was the right call. All the Bray Wyatt stuff happened as Matt Riddle was going to the back. So Matt Riddle went to the back, then the Bray Wyatt stuff began. So, like I said, it was an up and down card. I think that mostly it was up. All of the matches nailed the stories that they were telling, except Liv and Ronda. Now, I shouldn't say that because technically it did. The point of Liv and Ronda was to show that Liv does have a killer instinct and that she is tough. And Ronda's, whole thing about her being a Hooters Barbie is not appropriate, that she is a real champion and she's real tough. And that Ronda couldn't make her submit is a victory for Liv. But at the same time, Liv lost, so, and is probably going to lose the rematch if she gets one. So there that go. But I think, matter of fact, let's double back and let's say every match hit the storyline beat, including Liv and Ronda. Karrion Kross and Drew McIntyre also hit his storyline beat with Scarlett constantly interfering in order to prove that Drew McIntyre isn't the one and that he's not as good as Karrion Kross and all that kind of stuff. And since Drew McIntyre asked for it, he kind of embarrassed himself again. Of course, Bayley and Bianca, they really did a great job. Edge and Finn Balor was tremendous. Match of the night for sure, especially in terms of storytelling. In terms of pure action, the Brawling Brutes and Imperium was the best match of the night. But in terms of emotional investment, and I actually give a fuck about, tuning in on Monday, yeah, Edge and Finn Balor, that was good shit. Riddle and Rollins, it seemed to be a vehicle to get Riddle a big main event win, but then it was completely overshadowed by Bray Wyatt return, and the match itself was sort of overshadowed by Bray Wyatt's return. And I get why they put him on last. They put him on last because if you put him in the middle of the show and he gets the reaction that he got, he nuked the crowd for the rest of the night. The crowd is going home happy. They're more likely to just say, screw it. Not to just, walk out in the middle of the show or anything like that. But no need to react to anything else on this show because we got what we came for. So it was a double-edged sword. Bray Wyatt being teased, Bray Wyatt being, that anticipation being there, ruined the main event because they're trying to tell a story in the ring and there's idiots in the crowd chanting for Bray Wyatt. But at the same time, because people were anticipating Bray Wyatt, it made his return all the more sweeter. So you have to take the bitter with the sweet. You gotta take the L. It's unfortunate it happened to Seth Rollins, but Seth Rollins has main evented quite a few shows this year, and then this is the second or third show he's main evented without a title. Personal feuds draw cash. I think this was a right decision to make this match the main event. It was the right decision. Now, I wouldn't have been against Bayley and Bianca being in the main event. It just kind of would have been what it was. But they made the right decision to put the fight pit on last. This thing, really good show. Great storytelling throughout the show. 6 matches, seemed perfect. You had The Miz doing the filler stuff, which is okay. Maybe could have mixed it up a little bit and introduced some more characters. They're running with skeleton crews on these shows now, where there's almost no extra people hanging around. It's almost like it's the pandemic again. Like there's no extra people hanging around at all. But they didn't even have any pre-show matches, which is strangely odd. If I was Triple H, though, I would go back to the free-for-all concept. I was thinking about that as, Triple H is just bringing back, the 2-man booth and everything. And I was like, just go back to the free-for-all. The free-for-all was, for those of you who aren't old enough, it was the pre-show for, WWF pay-per-views. And it used to always get me very excited for, like, In Your Houses and stuff. Because it's the first 30 minutes. Technically it's, the 7:30 to 8 o'clock hour. They still do that, but it's all clip shows and it's all, vignettes for the matches, and that's all great and stuff like that. That's fine. You need to have that. But why can't we get a free match out of it? Even if it's just a cold match. Just imagine how he could have warmed the crowd up, to do something special, to have a pre-show match. And I don't know. I don't know why we stopped doing pre-show matches, You got people to do it. I don't understand why you don't do it the NXT pre-show for the big main events. Like a 30-minute episode of NXT. I would do that. I think that's a creative way to get people to watch NXT. If you bring in a small NXT crew for a free-for-all match, basically they're going to be, you could further the NXT storylines, get people to see what's going on NXT, get them some exposure. I would do that. I would have like a 6-man tag or a tag team match. It wouldn't be like the NXT title match on the line or nothing like that. It would be like a 6-man tag or 8-man tag or something like that, so the crowd could see the NXT talent in a WWE building. They get 10 to 15 minutes to go out there and have a match in front of that audience. People get to see them. They get to see the audience. They get to work in front of that crowd. And then if they want to see more of them, they got to watch NXT to see it. Perfect, right? You still got your vignettes for the main card and for everybody on the main card and everything. But you add a little bit extra to it. That's how I would do things, That's just me. I would be thinking about stuff like that. And plus, I think that if people are already in the building, and they're sitting in their seats or whatever, give them something to look at. I know they're probably thinking on the terms of that 30 minutes, there's people buying popcorn and hot dogs and T-shirts, and why interfere with people spending money on merchandise? And I'll say, well, there's going to be a break in between matches and people go to the bathroom and stuff like that where stuff is going to happen anyway. And plus, the doors open well before the show starts. Most people who show up at 8:15 for a show that starts at 8 o'clock probably are not going to buy that much in merchandise. They didn't care enough to get there on time. So I would go back to the free-for-all. And that's the one thing that I think AEW and Impact are doing better than WWE. They're putting a lot of emphasis on the pre-show matches. Bound for Glory had a championship match on a pre-show. It's not the purpose of whether you care about it or not, but if you're a fan of Impact and you care about that title, then you tuned in to the pre-show to see that title match. AEW does a really good job of making the pre-show count. They put on guys who should be on the main show in the pre-show sometimes because they think that it's a really good lead in. I don't think that they should, try to put the hardest hitting match that they possibly can in a pre-show of a WWE match. Put on a popcorn match. A guy like a Ricochet can go out there and do a bunch of flips, and a Mustafa Ali can go in there and work with somebody, or maybe some untested NXT talent, especially like the young girls or something like that. Like they put Nikita Lyons and Brian Breaker sitting out in the crowd, which is the old takeover. You show people who's next coming by them being in the crowd and treating them like a celebrity. Brian Breaker is here. You can watch him every week on NXT. Oh, Nikita Lyons is here. You can watch her every week on NXT. That's great. But how about, wouldn't it have been better if we got to see them in the ring doing stuff, or got to see them cutting promos, doing interesting shit, not just standing there like, dolls and mannequins and shit. Wouldn't it be more interesting if we'd have got a Nikita Lyons match on this show, so people who have never watched NXT could be like, holy shit, who is that girl? Who is that girl? Who been giving her cornbread and green? She white. That's who been feeding this white girl ham hocks? Who been making her sweet potato pies? She ain't been eating avocado toast, I can tell you that much. Nobody. That's a pound cake booty, all right? That's a booty you get growing up in a black household, So she must date nothing but black guys. I'm telling you, she been to a couple of hood Thanksgiving Day dinners to be that wide in the bottom half of her body. All right, enough. But that's what I would do, and I think that having a pre-show or first 30 minutes that people are skipping, it's a waste of time to your product, and I don't still see a benefit of it. Make that time matter. You got more time. Use it to get more people over. Even if it's just guys backstage cutting promos, do that. But I would prefer if they do some in-ring stuff and it's just a popcorn match to get the crowd warmed up. I would use NXT for that. Those people are already doing dumb shit anyway on TV. Build up to a match and build up to an NXT episode so people might want to watch it. But Extreme Rules is a great show. Up and down, mostly up. Match of the night, no doubt. Imperium and the Brawling Brutes for pure action, for pure storytelling, will be the I Quit match. But I think every match was decent to good, with the exception of Liv and Ronda, which was the absolute pits. At every level, too. The finish was kind of confusing to a lot of people because they're like, I don't understand what that submission hold is. Why is Liv smiling? The selling in the match wasn't very good in terms of them selling chairs or selling baseball bat, or even hitting each other with baseball bat or the chairs. So it easily had the worst match of the night. But other than that, pretty good show. Let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.